Okay, we say it takes a village. Well, what is a village? Who's in the village? What's a village for? We're going to talk about it today, and it's really important. Let's get started.
And now, the most trusted name in all of youth sports, here's Coach Mark.
Hey out there, it's Coach Mark, and man, I am excited to share this message with you today. It's about the village. The old saying, it takes a village. It's a cliche, but today we're going to break it down, and I'm going to talk about how important it is for you to have a village. So let's define village right out of the gate. So as a young player, you're coming up through this. Your village is all the people that are surrounding you, believing in you, and helping you get to where you want to go. You know, nobody gets to the top alone. You know, Olympic athletes have villages of people around them, okay? So I want to talk today about how do you build a village and who's in the village, okay? But before I even get to that, tip number one. In order for you to even have a village, you have to be the right kid. What do I mean by that? That means there are a lot of people that want to help young players, but they only want to help the young players who have certain qualities about them. So let me break this down right out of the gate, because if you don't have these qualities, you're not going to get a village, okay? So let me explain. People like me, for example, that want to help kids. I'm looking for kids that are respectful to their parents, okay? Respect's a big deal in the adult world, so we're looking for kids that are respectful. We're looking for kids that are grateful. They're thankful for the opportunities that they have around them. It's the opposite of being an entitled kid, expecting everybody to just, march in line to help you, okay? It's the opposite. We're looking for humility. Nobody really wants to help a arrogant kid, a cocky kid. They put on this air and they don't surround, a lot of people don't surround them because it's not attractive to be cocky and arrogant. So what are a couple more qualities? How about hard worker? Nobody wants to jump on the bandwagon of a lazy kid, a complacent kid. So you got to have a work ethic around you. How about just an general attitude? Some people would say coachable. Are you coachable? When people, adults give you advice, do you take it all in, or do you kind of shrug your shoulders like you know it all? Okay, so being coachable. Now these are just some of the things. There's more to it than that. Like, for example, being a great teammate. When adults see a young man picking other kids up, even maybe he's the best player on the team and the other kids are making mistakes. You could be the kid that's yelling at your teammates and, shrugging your shoulders. I see it every year at the Little League World Series. You see these kids, their shortstop, he's pitching, the shortstop makes an error and they turn around and they do one of these numbers. Nobody really rallies around kids like that. They want to see kids that are great teammates. They want to see kids that are competitors. That's another thing. Do you want to go out there and help your team win, or are you a selfish player? And the last one I would say is, are you the kind of kid that people can believe in general? In other words, we jump on your bandwagon because we believe in all these things. But do you know where that starts? That starts with you believing in you first, okay? I used to tell my son, if you want other people to believe in you, you have to believe in you first, okay? So you got to have some internal confidence to attract other people. Okay, now, let's say all of that is in place. And if you're watching this video, if it's not all in place, get it in place, okay? If you have areas of your life or your game that you need to improve it. But let's just say now you've got that all together. You are all those things, okay? Who are some of the people that are going to come into your life that are going to jump on your bandwagon? Well, first of all, it's your parents, okay? They are going to believe in you. I used to say to my son all the time, hey, I'll believe in you as much as you believe in you. I'll be as motivated as you're motivated. I'll be as committed as you're committed. But I'm not going to be more committed to your career than you are. I'm not going to be more motivated. I told my sons, if you want to go hit, ask and I will always say yes, but I'm not going to be the one dragging you to the batting cage, okay? And they understood. So your parents, when they see all these things going on, are going to be highly motivated to be committed to your dreams, okay? That's one. Your coaches, when I was coming up through, I always wanted to have good relationships with my coaches. Do you know who the coaches love? Do you know who their favorite players are? It's the players that I just described, the kids that are doing all of that. I heard it say, do coaches play favoritism? Absolutely they do. They gravitate to the kids that, like I'm describing, okay? So you want to have coaches, all your coaches believing in you, on your side, helping you. Then you get specialty coaches. You get your hitting coaches and your sports performance coaches and your mental coaches, your nutritionists. These are the people that start making up your village. Okay. Now, that village is going to largely determine how far you go in your baseball career. Like I said, nobody gets to the top on their own. They either have a village helping them or they don't. And I want to actually publicly thank some people, but I want to illustrate the point of what a giant advantage that my sons had coming up through, because I was constantly talking to them about all these things, and I knew if they did them well, that they would attract people into their lives. So let me just, it's scary to do this because I know I'm going to forget somebody, but I'm doing this live, so I'm going to acknowledge a few people, but it's a nice thing to do for me because they deserve it. But more than for you, I want you to understand this is the kind of village we would like to help you put together. Okay, so let me tell you a couple quick stories, and it'll illustrate the point of how this village comes together sometimes almost miraculously. First guy, Rob Bruno. Rob Bruno is one of the top guys in all of travel baseball. He's running a program out in California called NorCal. Okay, he's helped hundreds, if not thousands, of kids move on to college and professional baseball. He's got tons of guys in the big leagues. And my son and I were in Arizona. We're from Pennsylvania. We'd fly out to spring training every spring, and we went to an Arizona State game one Friday night. And my son Christian, who was 14 at the time, looked over and said, "Dad, I think that's NorCal." A bunch of kids all wearing the same maroon colored jerseys at the same game we were at, and then there's this big guy there looking like he's having a great time. And I said, "Well, let's go meet them." And Christian's like, No. And I said, come on, I want to teach you. You got to reach out, shake people's hands. Every handshake is an opportunity. Let's go meet these people. If they're the big time, we want to know who they are. I go over, I introduce myself to Rob Bruno, instant connection with Rob. Everybody has that connection with him because he's just a people person. And we get to talking, and he's telling me all about the program. He said, "Hey, we're playing tomorrow. Why don't you bring Christian out? We watch us play." Well, I already knew because my son Christian told me that his 14U team was in town playing in a Triple Crown event, and they were the second-ranked team in the country. So, of course, I changed our plans for Saturday. My wife wasn't too happy about that, and we went and watched the second-ranked 14U team in the country play, and they were really good. They were legit. Every kid on the team was a stud, and here's the part that was crazy. Rob sees us and says, "Christian, grab a bat, jump in here and get some swings with us." I'm like, who does that? Like, who invites a kid that's not even on the team, just met him last night, to take BP with them before the game? But that's what Rob did. Christian jumps in there and takes some swings, and Rob comes over to me afterwards and said, "Hey, your son's a really good player. Why don't you guys come play with us when we come to Georgia in the summer?" And I'm like, I didn't even know this guy last night, and now he's asking my son to play for the number 2 ranked team in the country. And of course we said yes, and Christian played with them. It was an amazing experience. I learned so much just watching them. Well, Rob took Christian under his wing, and he really mentored him and guided him, including me, by the way. He helped me. And so out of nowhere, this village starts forming with Rob Bruno kind of leading the way. And I look back at that, and if we don't meet Rob Bruno and he doesn't see all these characteristics in Christian, and I'm sure he doesn't do that to every single kid, but he saw something in Christian, and, compliments to my son Christian as well. But, that was the beginning of a village, okay? Let me give you another example. A guy named Fred Albert over in Pittsburgh runs a great program, the Allegheny Pirates. And when my son Christian was a sophomore, Fred asked him to play for them, and he was wearing a pirate uniform, and they played a great schedule in the fall, and it was so much fun. He played with a bunch of kids that went on and played college baseball and professional baseball, and Fred was just an amazing guy. He's a major league scout, and he took Christian under his wing, another member of the village. Let me give you another example. When Christian was 15 years old, we were at Virginia Tech, and Mike Gambino, who's now the head coach at Penn State, was the recruiting coordinator at Virginia Tech. And we were playing there, and he was watching Christian play, and he comes over to the side and says to me, I was coaching, and he says, hey, man, I wanted to tell you, I really like your son. And I got all excited. I thought, all right, man, ACC team likes my son. And he goes, but he can't play here. I'm like, whoa. I went from high to low in about 3 seconds. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, hell, his feet are way too slow. His feet are like concrete boots. And I'm like, ew. Not what you want to hear about a middle infielder, right? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate the candidness. I appreciate the feedback. We'll do something about it. And so we drove home 5 hours. I started asking around for sports performance trainers. I found this guy, everybody telling me how great he was, named Tyke Steiner. So I meet with Tyke. I tell him the situation. We set up a meeting with Christian. Tyke knows exactly what the situation is. He says, Christian, you ready to speed up those feet? Christian's like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And Tyke started working with him, and darned if they didn't speed up his feet. A year later, Mike Gambino at Virginia Tech offered him a scholarship. That's how important information can be. That's how important that people like Mike Gambino, who's still a dear friend of mine, great coach, that's how important his brutal honesty was. And then we find Tyke Steiner, who sped his feet up and changed his career. I'll give you one more story, okay? I mean, Christian's Village was big, but all these things are significant, and it's going to happen for you if you follow my lead for this, and it needs to happen for you if your son really wants to play at the highest levels, okay? Here's another one. Christian went to a showcase. He was 15 years old. At the same time, we meet Tyke Steiner. He runs a 60-yard dash. He's a middle infielder. Keep in mind his goal is to play in the SEC at this time, and he runs a 7.5 60. Okay, well, I can tell you right now, I know baseball numbers. That's not fast enough to play in the SEC. So we get in the car after the showcase, and, Christian's a little down because he knows that's not very good. And he's just not a naturally fast kid, okay? That's just the way it was. I said, Christian, I told you I'd never lie to you. So here's the deal. You are at a crossroads in your career. I know you have a big goal to play in the SEC. I'm not giving up on it, but I will tell you, you're either going to have to get a lot faster or you're going to have to lower your standards. You may play D2, D3. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that wasn't his goal, okay? So he sits there for a little bit, and then he mumbles, I'm not going to lower my standards. I said, okay. So then you're going to have to get a lot faster. And he just sat there and he says, how am I going to do that? And I said, I'll tell you what. I will find somebody that can teach you how to run, who can help you get as fast as you can be. Your genetic limit. We'll find out where it is, and hopefully it's good enough, okay? Well, I start asking around, and the name Ed Go-Go Lovelace pops up, and Ed Go-Go Lovelace is a world-renowned sprinter, was an Olympic athlete, was a star at Arizona State, and he's up in Harlem, New York, and he is training kids on how to get faster. I reach out to him. Ed says, bring him up. Buddy of mine, Matt Leneve, takes his son, my son. We drive to Harlem, New York. We go up there, and Ed Lovelace is truly a rock star. This guy is just, he's got the it factor. He's got all the swag, and he knows how to teach kids how to run. So he did a couple little tests and told me that my son could run a 6.660. Okay. Now I had to remind him, he just ran a 7.5, Ed. He goes, are you the coach or am I the coach? I'm like, you're the coach. He goes, then you let me handle this. Okay. I'm like, I backed off. Okay. You can get him to a 6.6, get him to a 6.6. So he starts working with Christian remotely, okay, gives Christian a running program, and in 1 year, Christian went from a 7.5 to a 6.7, which completely changed the trajectory of his career, okay, because 7.5 is not even close. 6.7, it's not considered lightning speed by SEC standards, but the SEC schools really liked that improvement. They knew where he was, and then they saw him do that, and they're like, okay, this kid has work ethic. So there's your village coming into fruition. Rob Bruno, Tyke Steiner, Mike Gambino, Ed Go-Go Lovelace, and there were other ones. I'll give you one more because I don't want to forget Dave Brisbane. Coach B, he started working with my son when he was 12 years old, and Coach B might have been the most influential guy in Christian's career because he's super positive, super just loving on kids, and just helped develop Christian's confidence and his everything, his work ethic. And Coach B held him accountable. And to this day, we're still great friends. We'll be forever grateful for Coach B. Geez, now I'm thinking about one more guy. I got to mention Scott Conrad. Scott Conrad was Christian's Little League coach, and he again built Christian up. So, you know, when I think about all the way back to 12 years old and all these people coming into his life, it's not by accident. It's not. It's because when you walk around in life as a sponge, taking it all in, when you're doing your part, doing everything right, people come into your life. They want to help you. Okay, so I just want you to realize that it's going on all the time, but it doesn't happen for most kids because they're not aware of all these things, of how the law of attraction really works. So this video was really a reminder to you that number one, it takes a village. Number two, who is the village? What does the village do? And how do you attract the village? That's what this video is about. I hope you got that message out of it. I'll add one more thing in closing. There's one more piece to your village that could be significant, and that is the ambassadors group, the group of people that I've put around to help young kids. We are a faith-based consulting organization that helps young players and their parents move on through all the journey of youth sports and youth baseball on to college and professional sports. That's what we do for a living. We could be a part of your village. So now, if you already have a great village, then maybe all this was all for naught. But if you don't have the village, we can help you not only be part of your village, but help you build your village, okay? I probably just set a record for the use of the word village in a short period of time, the most times in the world, okay? At any rate, thank you for listening. I'd love for you to get in touch with us and see if we could help you build your village and be a part of your village. There you go. Bye for now.